What's up everyone, this is Minnie, and today I'm coming at you with my review of the new Japanese Tier 9 premium battleship, Iwami. Now, before we get into that, a couple of things. One, this ship was provided to me by Wargaming for the purposes of review and testing. Two, don't forget to like the video and make sure to subscribe to my channel. About 70 to 75% of you watching haven't hit that subscription button yet. And make sure to do so because we're pushing for YouTube partnership and we can use every subscription. Now, Iwami will be available from today, July 8th, for 229,000 coal, 19,300 doubloons, or in the premium shop. The Iwami comes with an armor layout with 32mm at the bow and stern and across the upper belt, 356mm main armor belt, and then a 50mm deck and a 19mm plating on the superstructure. For the artillery, she boasts 4x2 410mm guns, along with 25 secondary guns between 100mm and 155mm. Secondary guns do get Georgia-like dispersion, so there is that, but we'll talk more about that when we're actually playing the game and what that means and if it's worth it. She comes with 80,700 hit points and a 37% damage reduction. 2x4 610mm Torps that have a 20km range, a 10km depth charge airstrike, along with 12.9 concealment and a just under 1km turning circle radius. But anyway, that's enough of looking at the ship in port. Let's talk about the ship in game. So let's talk about the Iwami. Now, in this game, I have the Iwami as the mid-tier with a tier 8 CV and a couple tier 10 ships, so it's a fairly well-balanced game. The Iwami is a very interesting ship. I've seen a lot of discussion by the community about intrigue on her, especially when they buff the secondaries and with the guns and just everything about her, making the community very interested in her. Now, that being said, there's a lot of good, there's also a lot of bad. So let's go in and let's cover it. First off, the 80,000 health you get is really nice. But it's really nice because you need it. This ship, despite having what seems on the surface like a really, really good armor, is very, very liable to get absolutely walloped if you try to close in range. If I try to close in range, you will see that you will take 10,000, 12,000, 15,000 damage chunks from other battleships fairly quickly. The guns themselves are a joy to shoot. They have decent accuracy, they do a lot of damage when you get it, and with 410mm, they do a world of damage to a lot of the tier 7, tier 8, and even tier 9 cruisers you'll see. Tier 10 cruisers you can have some struggle with, but you can still put a hurt on stuff if you get the broadside. Beyond that, the Torps are fun, but honestly, they just feel like a throw-in. They're 20km Torps. I'll be honest, this game I'm not throwing them out much. You should be just throwing them out on cooldown because with 20km, they're really just fire and forget and hope you hit something way later. I mean, they do come with 21,000 maximum damage, so it's worth using them. But trying to use them because of the firing angles as anything other than fire and forget becomes really challenging. Now, the other issue with the Iwami that I want to talk about is the fact that in and of itself, it's not a bad ship. It's not a bad ship. I enjoy playing her, but she does suffer when you compare her to the other tier 9 Japanese battleships, the Musashi and the Izumo, both of which feel way better than her. The Izumo feels way tankier, and with its gun setup, you can just bow in, and there's a reason the Musashi is called a tier 9.5, basically. And so, it's hard to separate, is this a good battleship versus is this battleship not feel as good as it can due to the other ones at its tier. And so that becomes a big debate and a discussion point. How good of a ship is she? And honestly, she doesn't really stand out. That's not to say she's bad. That's not to say you can't have fun in her. But she doesn't stand out. She doesn't have something that makes her feel special or unique. She's just another battleship. Now,
Our ship is aflame.
I know as I say that, the first thing a lot of you are going to be saying is, Minnie, what about the secondaries? She's got Georgia-type secondaries with that accuracy. Well, yes, she does have secondaries. And the secondaries are a lot of fun. But there's a couple issues with the secondaries. She doesn't have the health, and by the health, I mean durability, to be a secondary ship. We look at the armor and you think, okay, with the 32mm front and the 50mm deck and the 356mm armor belt, she would be good at that. But the problem is, when you max out her secondaries, even with the flag, you're only getting yourself about 10.5 kilometers worth of range. So that is almost a kilometer less than the Georgia, and you don't have several of the advantages the Georgia has, which is the maneuverability, the speed boost, all of that balancing to make it worthwhile. The Georgia is able to get itself out of bad positions it puts in to get the secondary damage. The Iwami is not. And so while the secondaries are great fun and they are a blast, you give up a lot to take them. And you can see right there, couple shells from the Montana hit, about 8k on 2 shells. Now, the secondaries, like I said, I can't say they're not useful, because they are very useful. They're great when something walks in, and we'll see that later in the game. The guns are a lot of fun. And I want to like the Iwami more than I really do like the Iwami. But she just, after having played Musashi, having played Izumo, having played other Tier 9 premium battleships, she just feels lacking. She doesn't feel like a lot of the others where you are getting a gimmick that makes it worthwhile, or you're getting super tankiness, which makes it worthwhile. Her AA suite, while nice, doesn't have enough potency to deal with a lot of the aircraft you're going to run into, which is going to be another way you're going to get whittled down very quick. And you can see right there, I'm getting sap shells from the Sherman doing 900 damage. So, at the end of the day, while I'm not recommending her per se, I'm not saying she's bad. It just is. If you get her, I think you'll have fun with her. But I think there's other Tier 9 battleships that do their job better and are more enjoyable than her. So let's talk about this game as we're going through and watching what happens. So we'll see the shells, and this is one of the things I do like about the accuracy. Getting 2 over pens onto a DD at that range is really nice. And then we'll see that as I'm going to come around this corner, we're going to see this Petro turn broadside. And she can put a hurt on the Petro, and she will put a hurt on the Petro here, despite the seemingly lackluster damage so far. But you'll notice, even without being super, super aggressive, only taking Shakalov, Torps, and having a Montana shooting at me, I'm already down 40,000 health. I've used 2 heals, and I can only heal up another 5,600. It just feels like you don't have a ton of health. And so, as we look into this game, we're going to see our team's in a pretty good spot, and you're going to get a chance to see the secondaries here and how they function, how they work, and get a feel for them. So we're going to push in here. We're going to see the Adriatico up north. We're going to see the Salmon. And I will say, I do enjoy having the 7.7 kilometer secondaries. I do enjoy their ability to do work. It's just, I don't see them as giving me what I need compared to playing something like a Georgia that has longer range secondaries, or a Ruprecht which has really long range secondaries. It just falls short of both of those. And so we're pushing through. The Adriatico's been pushed away. We've got a Ruprecht. And you'll see, as I close in here, you'll be able to see how it fares directly against Ruprecht's secondaries. So the Ruprecht is now being able to shoot at me. We're starting at about 38,000 health. And so you see the Ruprecht's shells coming in at me. Here come all the secondaries. We're aiming our guns. Our secondaries are now in range, though we're going to look at the Adriatico. But you'll see our shells going. You'll see that he is chunking me steadily down. I get about 11k on the Ruprecht, but the Ruprecht is getting way better secondary damage on me than I am on Int, just as a comparison point. And so, we've gotten our kill. We're at 63,000 damage. Chekalov's gonna drop. We're gonna get bombed. We're gonna look at that Osterjetland, miss the first salvo. We're gonna turn in and go from there because we have to. And hope that we don't die. Fortunately, we dodged the set of Torps the Oster launched at me. We'll see that the Massachusetts and Rupert trade each other out. Shots off at the Osterjetland, and these would have killed him, but the Black has the shots ready and does slap him. And so now we're going to turn, and I'm watching and I'm calculating that I can stay alive without wasting the DCP, so we're going to do that. And then you'll notice once again with the Torps, I haven't launched them all game. I should be launching them just as fire and forget, but honestly, they just, you kind of forget about firing them because they're so just, they're there. They don't really feel like they serve a purpose. It feels like Wargaming was just looking for something to throw on.
Victory is self-evident.
Now, game is in a great spot here. We're going to see that we're going to be able to smack a Shekalov, and that is a joy, is that you can still get really nice smacks at range with these guns. But, all in all, it's just a ship. Whether you consider that damning with faint praise or actual praise, it's just a ship, is all it feels like.
Ahead of us.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, that gives us our final damage total. I hope it gives you a good feel for how the Iwami plays. Like I said, if you want to pick her up, I think you'll have fun in her. Just don't expect it to feel like an Izumo or a Musashi or a Georgia or a Ruprecht. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. And as always, this is Minnie, signing off.